Okay, so bell ringer for today. So I will grade these tomorrow then after the bell ringer for tomorrow. So for those of you in here, I'll just come around and check. Those of you at home, turn it in for tomorrow's announcement. Okay, so describe the Depression in Germany. What was the Weimar Republic solution to the Depression in Germany? What did they try to do? Okay, this created a lot of distrust in this government and caused a lot of chaos, anarchy on the streets and outside of major political buildings. All right, so there you go. Go working. Reminder, Chris, current event for tomorrow. Okay. You guys all right over there? Okay. So I'll give you about 2 minutes to finish up here. There's a lot to write about. Okay, so what started this worldwide depression? What started it? What started this worldwide depression? Chris? Yeah, good job. Good job. So we can say the stock market crash, right? October 29th, 1929, when America failed. Okay, as that was going downhill with the stock market, and many businesses and industries were shutting down. And we all know with agriculture as well. That was taking a huge hit. So did the rest of the world. Why? Why did the rest of the world get affected by the stock market crash in the United States? Chris, go ahead.
By European countries, I mean Germany and the Allied powers, they're providing them with money.
Yeah, good job, right? And what was that plan called? And some help on it? Haley? The Dawes Plan, good job, right? So all these countries in Europe and all around the world pretty much, but most importantly, Germany and Great Britain and France were dependent on the United States, right? Their manufacturing, their goods, their supplies, their industries. So once the United States fell, so did the rest of the world. Okay, so this is how a worldwide depression occurred, because everybody was dependent on the United States. Good job. All right, so obviously we know with the Holly Smoot tariff, that didn't help anybody out. Why not? Why didn't President Hoover's idea, the Holly Smoot tariff, help anybody out? Why did this actually push countries to focus on themselves and isolate themselves from the rest of the world with economic decisions and trading and with their marketplace? What happened with that? Ethan, do you remember with the Holly Smoot tariff? What did that do? What did that do? So President Hoover came up with this idea to try to combat against the depression in the United States.
The average tariff rate.
Okay, yeah, good job. On what? Yeah, good work, good work. Yep, so it raised tariffs on imported goods from other countries. And what do you think these other countries like Germany or Great Britain or France were going to do with American products? What do you think they did? Jakari? Yeah, the exact same thing. They're going to tariff goods coming from the United States into their countries. So this created trade wars, and countries really just to isolate themselves and focus on themselves. So that was another compounding issue, which led to World War II. This almost is kind of reoccurring from the start of World War I. Countries focused on themselves, strong nationalism. Okay, we'll see them building up their own militaries as well, and this is going to only result to conflict, result to war. So it's almost like they resorted back to what started the First World War. Okay, good. All right, so what was the Weimar Republic? What was that? What was the Weimar Republic? I know I went over this yesterday. Jakari?
I just have government before Hitler.
Okay, so in what country?
Germany.
Yeah, in Germany. Good job. So it was German government, and it was what? It was, what kind of government was it?
Democracy.
Yeah, it was democracy. Good job. So people voted in elected officials to help them out through difficult and hard times, right? And to make decisions for the people. And when this depression hit in Germany, and we all know because the United States fell as well, so if they didn't have any dependency, if they didn't have any support from the U.S., they were kind of down in the dirt, right? They didn't have any way out of this depression. And at the same time, what did they have to do? Who did they have to pay for some of the damages of World War I? Jakari? Yeah, the Allied powers. And what treaty was that? Do you remember? What treaty established that with the reparations and all those limitations? Yeah, good work, good work. Sorry for grilling you questions there, but yeah, with the Treaty of Versailles. Good, good. So the people, what do you think they thought of the Weimar Republic when they're going through the Depression and they had no way of helping the people? What do you think the German citizens had? What kind of trust did they have for the Weimar Republic? Gary? Yeah, they lost hope. They kind of gave up on them. They said, you know what? They're not helping us out through this depression at all. We're having bread lines, shanty towns formed outside of these cities, same like we see in the United States. People didn't have the ability to buy food, okay? And what did the Weimar Republic do to try to combat against this depression? What did they do? Haley? Yeah, they just printed out more money. They thought, well, if we print out more money, then more people have money to spend out in the economy. Well, what happened to the price, the worth of that currency? Autumn? Yeah, right. It didn't have any worth. Okay. So what were people doing with this cash, with this currency? You guys remember? What's that?
wasting it.
They were wasting it. Okay. Haley? Oh, Ethan, go ahead. Sorry.
Use it as like toys.
Yeah, right. So parents, rather than buying them toys because it was too expensive to actually buy it, they said, "Here's stacks of money. Just play with that because it's worthless. It's meaningless." Right. I even showed pictures of people putting it up as like wallpaper. Right. So can you imagine that, walking into someone's room and seeing wallpaper, just cash all over the walls? That'd be kind of neat. That just shows their wealth there, I guess. But at that time, it was a lot cheaper just to throw money up on the wall than actually buying wallpaper. I showed some examples of people using it as fuel to heat their homes. Why? Because it was cheaper than actually buying wood or just going out and cutting down trees because, oh, it's just too time expensive. It's going to take forever. Let's just throw a bunch of this worthless money into the fire because that will heat our home better than that. All right. So yeah, it was a very terrible time, and the Weimar Republic was not respected by the people. At the same time, because the citizens didn't respect the Weimar Republic, there's a lot of anarchy on the streets, chaos, right? There was revolts, rebellions, and people were out actually killing each other in the streets because there's mass anarchy, right? If the government has no control, do you think there's any police force or military that's going to abide by the rules? No, not at all. Not at all. So Germany was in a really bad state at this time. Okay, right around 1929, 1930, 1931, 32. Okay, and this is going to lead to a popular ideal, a popular leader to come into play, and we'll talk about that or talk about him today. All right, is there any questions on that? You see how Germany was really going through a hard time, and even worse than many of these other countries facing the depression. A lot of it because they had to pay back the reparations yet on top of it. Okay. All right, vocab terms for today. All right. So this is going to be like a two-part lesson because there's so much information. I'll have part of it today, and I'll talk a little bit more about it tomorrow. All right. All right, so totalitarianism. Joseph Stalin, Adolf Hitler, and Benito Mussolini. So I'll give you some time to write these terms down, and we'll go over them. And obviously, the lesson's going to be focused on these terms today. Like I said, there's a lot of information, so I will kind of break it apart for today and tomorrow. All right, one more minute to finish up here. We'll go over 'em. All right, so totalitarianism. What is that? What is totalitarianism? I guess we'll start over here. Autumn. What is totalitarianism?
Form of government or political system that prohibits opposition.
Yeah, good job. So it's like a dictatorship, right? So it is really one leader, one political group having control, and there's no opposition, no competition. Okay. So if there's any other political party that might have an opposition to their ways of performing politics or running the country, they are casted out, they're exiled, maybe a lot of their members killed. Okay. So totalitarianism is really just a dictatorship. One group, one political party having full control. There's no democracy, right? There's no balance of power. There's just one group having total control. One political group. All right, so that's totalitarianism. So whenever you hear a totalitarian dictator, that's what that means. All right, there's no opposition. That leader, his political party, has full control of the country and the workings of it and all decisions. All right, Joseph Stalin. All right, Joseph Stalin. What do you have, Jakari?
I just put leader of Russia.
Yeah, okay, good job. So he's the premier, he's the leader, the dictator of Russia, the Soviet Union. All right, I'd rather have you put the Soviet Union during World War II. So he came in power right around mid-1920s. Okay, he won't lose power until he dies in 1953. So he's the dictator, the man in charge of the Soviet Union. And really, we see the Soviet Union under his leadership become this world power, right? He pushes the Soviet Union to industrialize in a fast rate, a fast, alarming rate. And to the cost of millions of people, he actually was successful in making the Soviet Union into this world superpower. Okay, a lot of the things he's done, very, very terrible. Okay, especially to his own people and other ethnic groups and other cultures and people of other nationalities. But when you look at his ability to turn the Soviet Union around to this developing country focused on agriculture to the industrial power, he did it pretty quick. Right? That's Joseph Stalin. We'll talk about the gulags, the 5-year plans. Okay, how he was. Oh, I know what you're thinking, Jakari. Gulag, Call of Duty stuff, right? Yeah. 5-year plans and how he made the Soviet Union into this world power. All right, Adolf Hitler. What do you got here? What do you got here, Ethan?
The dictator of Germany from 1933 to 1945 and rest power as a leader of the Nazi Party.
Yeah, good job. So the Nazi Party, you can put that in parentheses right there. Angel, you writing this down? Okay. All right, so the Nazi Party, he was the Führer, okay? Der Führer. That's what you can put. DERFUHRER. Okay, that's what he refers himself as. And that just means supreme leader. Right? He was the dictator of Germany from right around 1933, 1934, up until 1945, the ending of World War II. And we all know some of the atrocities he has committed with anti-Semitism, the Holocaust, right? But we're going to talk a little bit about him in his early career and actually how he turns the tide for Germany. He pulls them out of this Great Depression. He targets the youth. And for the most part, we see prosperous times, wealth coming back to Germany for a short period of time until World War II happens. He was the man of the year for Life magazine for doing this. He held the 1936 Olympics. For the most part, many viewed him as a very successful leader until we all know what actually happened with the start of World War II. All right, Benito Mussolini. Chris, I might as well save this one for you.
Benito Mussolini was an Italian politician and journalist who founded and led the National Fascist Party.
Yeah, good job. So many people consider him the founder of fascism. So write that down, fascism. Fascism.
I think it's
What's that?
fascist.
Yeah, he's a fascist leader, but fascism is like the term used for his political order. And this is far right on the political spectrum, right? So with Stalin, he has communism. That's at the far left of the political spectrum. And I'll write that up here soon. Well, Benito Mussolini, founder of fascism, strong sense of nationalism, right? What is nationalism again? I know we went over that at the start of World War One. Haley? Yes, it's severe, intensive pride, strong national pride in your own country. It's almost like patriotism in a way, but to the extreme. And we'll talk more about him and how he pulls Italy out of their depression and how he focuses a lot of the attention on the military and really how we see he's really the beginnings of fascism and this dictatorship in Europe and in the rest of the world. Okay, we'll focus on him first today. So he leads the black shirts, and he wants to bring back Rome. You guys remember talking about the Roman Empire? I'm sure you talked about it in freshman year with Mr. Shutt. Okay, and how the Roman Empire, he wants to bring back that glory. Okay, how the Roman Empire was so strong and dominant during those times. He wants to bring that back. Again, very terrible to his own people, pushed out a lot of political opposition. There's a commonality amongst all these leaders here. All right, you guys good with that? Okay, so notes, just 2 slides today, that's it. And I don't even know if I'll get through all the information I want to get through today. I just want to focus on, how about I just focus on Stalin and Mussolini today, and I'll talk about Hitler more tomorrow. All right, so around the world, we all know that many of these countries at the end of World War I, these European countries were in a terrible state. They were going through rebuilding, and they needed to focus on the United States to rebuild. And we already went through it. We beat it up a lot already with the Stalins Plan and how the U.S. was supporting all these countries through these hard times. But once the U.S. goes through this depression, so does the rest of the world. And this pushes a lot of countries to be more accepting of extreme political values, okay, extreme ideals, all right? So real quick, I want to draw this up on the board. You'll probably need to know this for a quiz or test, right? This is a political spectrum. Just erase this for now. All right. So put political spectrum. It's important to know this because when you're thinking about policies and way of governing, and especially with the dictatorship around the world at this time, it's important to know where you kind of fall. All right, so at the far right, I know I mentioned it already. What's at the far right? Go ahead, Haley. Fascism. Good job. Fascism. Good. So far right, this is strong national pride. All right, there is free market, there is private business, but at any time the government has full control. All right, and usually with fascism, okay, you'll have a dictator, it's a totalitarian dictatorship, where that person has full control. That political party has full control. There is no opposition. So fascism is strong sense of national pride. Okay, strong nationalism. Right, and there is no political opposition. There is free market, free industry, but at any time that can be controlled by the government to produce wartime materials, military surplus, you name it. Got that, Kevin? You writing this down, buddy? You better not be on your phone, man. Better not be. I'm just kidding. All right, so then kind of angle out towards the right. What do we have? What do you think? What do you think? So there's a couple branches here, actually. Right down the gut and veering off the far left. How about we start to the far left first? We'll get to these middle ones next. But What about the far left? I know I mentioned this one too. Communism. Good job. So government owns everything. Total control. Right? There is no free market. There is no private business. Government has full control of everything. Right? And in some cases, you'll see a totalitarian dictatorship with this. Stalin especially had this dictatorship within the Soviet Union at this time. So government has full control, full reins of the economy, marketplace, life, everything. So with collectivization, we'll talk about that today as well. All right, so how about we start right in the middle then? What do you think the middle is? Right down the middle. What do you think, Andrew? Okay, all right. So you're accepting of maybe both values, left and right. So you're a modernist, okay? So modernist. Right down the middle. So you're more moderate. That means you're accepting of kind of both sides of the aisle. Right? And to make reference, if you're far right or far left, that means it's extreme. So extreme. Right? Okay. So then we're veering off to the right. What do you think? Or like kind of veering off to the right. You're not extreme. You're not extreme fascist. You're not modernist. You're not as accepting of the other side. What do you think you are if you're a little bit veering off to the right here? What do you think, Jakari? You don't know? Anybody? Autumn, do you know this? Conservative. Good job. So conservative. So this means that, you know what, government shouldn't have a hand in the economy. The free market, private business should reign its full, right? So that it shouldn't have any type of limitations, okay? Government involvement should be less in people's lives. So people should have the decisions for themselves of what they would like to do, okay, what they should have. So less government involvement, all right? So that's conservative viewpoints. Usually with conservative viewpoints, you're more towards, with military, you're benefiting the military, trying to build that up, more funding towards that. And you're looking for tax breaks as well. Okay, so not as many tax breaks. Private business, like I said, right? So that's kind of on the right side. And usually in our politics, Republican, well, that's what it is. Republican Party falls on the right side. Okay? All right, and then the left side, what do we have here, do you think? What do you think here? Go ahead, Angel.
Oh, no, I was stressing.
Oh, all right. Autumn? Liberal. Yep, good job. So liberalism, I guess you say. So liberal. All right, and this is more government involvement. So on the left side, you'll see more government involvement, okay, supporting the people. Usually on this side, it's more for social programs, okay? So government benefiting the people with more social programs like education, for instance, medical care, all right? So government involvement a little bit more in people's lives. And then usually on this side, right, on the left side of American politics, Democratic, okay? So you'll see Democratic local party. All right, so that's where we're at right now, okay? So I wanted to talk about that before we got to these dictators because it's important to know, all right? So with fascism, do you think they're going to be accepting or adhere or try to have any type of relationships with someone that's communist? Probably not, right? These viewpoints are totally on the extremes, and they don't really like each other too much. So I wanted to talk about that before I move on. All right, so the first person I want to talk about is Joseph Stalin here, Soviet Union. Right, we left off talking about Russia leaving World War I, right? Yeah. Okay, they went through this Russian Revolution. Vladimir Lenin, right? He led this Bolshevik Revolution. And we see communism taking hold in Russia. And they actually changed the name to the Soviet Union. Okay? So Lenin dies right around 1922, 1923. Okay? So once Lenin dies, Joseph Stalin kind of takes hold, takes power in the Soviet Union. And his first goal is to try to push the Soviet Union into an industrial power. Right? Remember, right? Who did the Soviet Union lose to? Well, Russia lose to a war in the early 1900s. Chris, remember? Japan. Good job, right? And at that time, Japan was viewed as a lesser country. Why? Because they're in Asia, right? So, Soviet Union lost this war. They're humiliated. It's like, oh, we lost to an Asian country. They're a laughing stock in Europe. It's like, how did you lose to an Asian country in a war? It should never happen, right? But we'll talk about it. Japan's just a little bit more advanced than what everybody thinks, especially out in the open waters. The Soviet Union loses this war. Then, all of a sudden, they go into World War I. Did they finish the war out? Did they see it through? No, they left, right? They dropped out because they were going through this communist revolution. So with the Treaty of Versailles, do you think they're allowed to sit at the table with everybody else? Do you think they were invited to the League of Nations? No, they weren't. So they didn't have a say at the international level. So it was to a point when everybody thought of the Soviet Union, they stink. Get rid of them. They're not even that good. We don't even want to hear about it. All right. So Stalin, once he comes into power, his goal is to try to make the Soviet Union into this dominant country, right? This industrial power. And the way he does that is through, let me just write this up, 5-year plans. 5-year plans. And this over here. So make sure you guys write this down under Stalin. The Soviet Union, 5-year plans. All right, and these 5-year plans is plain and simple. It takes 5 years. Okay, they're going to try to collect a lot of resources. They're going to have the government take control of all the agricultural farms and direct a lot of these cities and areas to these urban areas to making and producing different types of products and goods, supplies for the military effort. So he is trying to prime industrialization in the Soviet Union, force it onto the people. Okay, I know what you're thinking. It's a lot harder to do that. It's easier said than done, right? Okay, how do you think he forces industrialization in the Soviet Union? What does he do? What does he create? So obviously they're not going to get paid. What kind of labor will it be? What kind of labor will it be? If they're not getting paid, they're pretty much known as what then? Haley? What's that? Okay, slave labor, right? Slave labor, right? He creates these gulags, which are labor camps, okay? So anybody that opposed his political ideology, anybody that opposed him were forced into these labor camps. So right now in Gulag, it's called a labor camp, right? And these were all about these 5-year plans, okay? This was supposed to inspire industrialization into the Soviet Union and build them into this top premier power, this industrial power. You think it stopped after 5 years? No, it continued on and on and on and on until the Soviet Union became a dominant world power, okay? So I'd say almost 20, 30 years until he was until he died. He pushed this onto the people. Okay, even his own citizens forced into gulags. Again, if they opposed him, if they had any different type of political viewpoints, they were forced to work in these labor camps to create the Soviet Union into the strong, dominant nation. And then finally, the last term I want you to write from the Soviet Union is collectivization. So collectivization is just him gathering materials, resources, lands for the government to use in order to benefit and support his military. So using these agricultural fields to support his military, feed his troops. Using these lands maybe to inspire industrialization, build roads, railroads, transportation all throughout the Soviet Union. So in case there ever was a war, he can mobilize an army very quick. Where do you think these urban areas are going to be located in the Soviet Union? We all know that Russia's huge, right? It spans pretty much 2 continents. And where do you think a lot of these urban areas are going to be located towards? Located near, Chris?
Close to Europe.
Close to Europe, right? So that's why Moscow, St. Petersburg, they called it Stalingrad at the time. Volgograd is what it's called now. Okay, all these major cities are located near Europe. Why? What do you think, Chris?
I mean, it's easier to control if we're close to a European power.
Okay, yeah, because they're the major threats. All right. And at the time, if you're going to trade with anybody, usually in a communist country, that doesn't happen too much. But if there's any type of trade, it probably should be focused towards these European countries. And maybe they can steal some people from Germany, from Great Britain, some from France to inspire some of these new industrial ideas in their own country, right? Okay, so that's Stalin, right, and the Soviet Union. So make sure you remember 5-year plans, gulags, and collectivization. I know that's a lot of information all at once, but I need to make sure that we cover that. What's up? We just got done talking about Stalin. Got that? You remember it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so he's at the far left, communism. So put that down, right there by the Soviet Union, communist, right? He's at the far left of the political spectrum. All right, Mussolini, the fascist party. So we know fascism, he's at the far right of the political spectrum. And Mussolini comes into power and he pushes this strong nationalistic ideology, okay, and where he will create this, he wants to try to bring back ancient Rome, Roman Empire's glory. So he marches into Rome, and at this time, Italy, okay, they were still licking their wounds from World War I. Although they were part of the Big Four, do you think they saw any type of concessions? Do you think they saw any type of advancements and help and benefits from the League of Nations at the end of World War I? No. Why do you say that, Chris?
Wasn't it mainly direct at Germany and Allied powers?
Okay, yeah, but what side did Italy start the war, World War I on? Yeah, on Germany's, the Central Powers. So you guys remember how they jumped sides? They jumped sides towards the end to try to be on the victor side. Yeah. So the League of Nations, France and Great Britain are like, yo, no, you kind of just jumped on the bandwagon halfway through the war when you knew you were going to lose. So we're not going to give you anything. So depression hit hard in Italy, especially. Okay. And Mussolini wanted to try to bring back this old glory. So he creates this group called the Black Shirts. Okay, make sure you write that down. The Black Shirts, they were people that tried to, obviously had the same fascist ideology, and they wanted to try to push out any type of communist leaders, any type of communist opposition to his fascist party. Right? At this time, which we're going to talk about even more when we get to Germany, right? One of the main fears was communism spreading all throughout Europe. And Mussolini wanted to try to use this group, his political party, the Black Shirts, to try to push out these communists, these socialists out of Italy. And he did so pretty quick. Right? A lot of people supported, obviously, his military efforts. He gave people jobs to build up the military, you name it. All right, I don't want to hold you here. Sorry, guys. Take care. I know it's a lot of information. See you guys.